Y'all know the name of the show. It's Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. And what do guys do when they talk sports at the bar? They drink beer. So if you want to buy us a beer, you can Venmo us. The Venmo is at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports.
Honey, where are you going?
Where are you going?
Again? Just where are you going?
Where are you going? You're not going to the bar again, are you?
You like hanging out, drinking beer at the bar, talking sports? Come on out and join us weekly. Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, your podcast for just that. Hanging out, drinking some beer, talking sports.
Are you really doing season 4 of that stupid podcast?
Don't ever be Army.
Hey, for tuning in for another week of Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. Neighborhood friends getting together at a bar, MJ's Bar in Garland, Columbia, South Carolina. Brews, microphone. Some of us got some bubbly water of some sort, and it's always fun hanging out, drinking with the friends and talking about sports. Can't go wrong with Guys at the Bar Talking Sports, can you? Now, stay tuned as we discuss last week's conference championship games, the Heisman Trophy finalists, our thoughts on the playoff committee's choice to the top 4, the Army-Navy game, of course, which is the only game. All eyes will be on that this weekend at 3 o'clock Eastern Time. And we'll even talk a little NFL football. Woo! Might even throw in some college basketball. Who knows? All kinds of surprises today because I did not send out an agenda for my team here, the guys and gal at the Bar Talking Sports. So feel free to share the show with your friends, subscribe, give us some positive reviews on your favorite Facebook or favorite podcast app. We do have a Facebook group. You can join it. It's called Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. All you gotta do is search for it. You'll find it. Feel free to join and keep on coming back and supporting us. The best way to support us, though, because we have a beer and a liquor habit, is to send us some money through Venmo. Is at Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. You can do that. Buy us around. Always fun, and we'll give you a shout out on the show. Why not? I don't know if everyone at this table knows this, but 90 years ago today is when
Prohibition was abolished.
Prohibition. And if it was not for that, we probably would not be Guys at the Bar Talking Sports. We'd be called Guys at the Altar talking non-sports stuff, I guess. What the priest did, yeah, I don't know. And the reason why I say this is because alcohol has led to sports being as big as it is. Here's my proof. Budweiser is supported and advertised on NFL and everything else. So as every other beer and liquor company out there, I'm sure, is a huge sponsor of the thing we love the most, the sports. So that is a great thing that they lifted prohibition 90 years ago today, and here we are. Yay, there we go. It's a constitutional amendment, so the people spoke, and the politicians were forced to listen. That's all political we're getting today, though. Let's go ahead and talk about some sports, shall we? College football season in a nutshell. Here it is, September. Hold everything. Hold everything. Colorado is it. That's what everyone was saying in September. It was like the biggest thing in the world, right? October, Pac-12, still undefeated in lots of those teams. It was looking like they were going to be dominant their last year. Alabama's over with. They lost one game. Nobody was, saying anything good about them. And then we roll into November, and what happens? Reality sets in, didn't it? Reality set in. Things started to get back to normal again, and here we are. We just had a big conference championship weekend, and what happens? Lots of new controversies, isn't there? So
Always.
That's what we'll talk about today a little bit, but let's do some introductions, shall we?
Yes.
That was the longest intro I've ever done, by the way. So here we go. We got Cheeks.
Hey,
Already
guys.
one beer in. What is that beer you're drinking there?
I'm drinking.
Looks like Miller Lite.
It's Shiner Bock. It's
Shiner Bock,
It's
okay.
the lime and salt whatever thingy is that they have. It's
Nice.
very much like Corona with the lime in it.
Okay, and we have Chopper across the table from me, missing a
Going
beer,
on, drinking air.
drinking air, but it looks like you might have been drinking some Guinness.
That's right.
good
Sweet Guinness.
Go grab you another one, my
Delicious.
man.
I'm going to right after this. I'll be
All
right
right.
back.
And we got the Rebel, always drinking some Diet Coke and bourbon.
Maker's Mark.
And Maker's Mark, all right. But if you ever went into his liquor cabinets, he does not drink Maker's Mark at home.
Not every night.
I can assure you of that. All right, and then we have my man, the Chief. Always drinking the hard stuff. What's
Always
he got
the
there?
hard stuff. Big glass of club soda with a squeeze of lime.
All right, and I have a Bullet Bourbon neat. Always fun. Always keeps my my stomach nice and warm on a cold South Carolina
It
night.
made you healthy. Remember, it solved your crud.
It does solve crud as well. If you got the crud, the secret to the crud, which is going around the southeast, and maybe a little bit in the northeast now, is a little bit of bourbon every night of the week. So you just do that and you'll be good to go. That's my advice. Don't take it because I am not a doctor. All right, moving on.
Dr. Ray.
Dr.
Dre.
Dr. Ray Dre, we'll say. Hey. All right, so conference championship weekend is in the books, you know. Threw a big wrench into the mix with the way that they went down towards the end. Florida State should have lost, and that would have helped everybody's little plans out. But now it's really controversial. Well, let's talk about those games and not get into controversy yet, okay? Alabama versus Georgia. We had Alabama. They won 27-24. What are your first thoughts on that, Rebel?
It was close, just how I thought it would. It would come down to one score. I can't remember. I think I did pick Alabama to win. I'm not sure.
I have my picks. I did not.
I don't remember. I mean, there was a few calls in that game that could have very much shifted the game one way or the other. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, your national championship game was played in Atlanta, Georgia last weekend.
You think that was the national championship game based on the two best teams in college football?
I do.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the problem with this, and we'll go down the rabbit hole, I'm sure, a little deeper as this night goes on. But the top two teams in the country played for the SEC championship, and then I guess the committee didn't see them as such. I mean, my question is, I've wondered, I know Tennessee dropped, but have you ever had a team that hasn't lost a game in 3 years lose in a conference championship game and drop 5 places out of contention in 1 week?
I mean, even TCU didn't drop 5 places last year.
It's the resumes of all the other teams involved, you know.
There was a lot going on.
So in most scenarios, they probably would have taken both teams, not this year.
The resumes, if you want to have that resume conversation, you take Alabama, who lost to Texas. You have a team who damn should have lost it in Jordan-Hare to a team who lost to New Mexico State the week before. So, again, your point being, it's not wrong. But you can start peeling back the onion and start arguing both sides of this in a hurry. But
let's stay focused on that Alabama-Georgia game, because when I was watching the game, I mean, Alabama jumped out ahead in the beginning. It was 17-7 at halftime. They dominated the first half, and they also ran the ball down the middle, did a lot of running and stuff like that. And there was really one thing that finished off that game. And not finish it off because it happened in the first half, but it was the missed field goal by Georgia. Like, to tie the game, they missed the field goal. That gives the ball back to Alabama, and they're able to run down. I think they scored on that next play as well. So without that, you have a whole different scenario.
Well, I mean, you could argue that's the first time Georgia played a real team all year. Yeah. I mean, you really could.
And I told you last week, for all of our listeners out there, that Alabama would not look the same or be the same team that showed up against Auburn the week before.
Yeah, I mean, I had some friends tell me that.
They will not show up the same team, and they didn't. They show up a different team. They'll be a different team from here on out. You're going to see all the coaching and all the consistency and all of the, just kind of smash mouth grind football. They're gonna roll right through it.
So was it coaching that won that game, like you had called it last week as well?
Yep.
I mean, it just really came down to the experience on the Alabama side with Saban calling the plays and doing whatever he does, whatever magic he has. That was it, huh?
Yeah.
Chief, what are your thoughts on that game? Did you get to watch it at all?
Oh, I watched the game. I think it was the most important game. If you want to see the game, that was the game. I had picked Georgia by a score. So I was wrong on that one.
I picked Georgia.
I mean, most people were wrong on that because they thought that Georgia would roll Tide.
I thought it was going to be incredibly close. I still am of the mind that Saban, if he does not win in the first playoff game, I think Saban we're going to find out when his retirement is. I mean, there have been all these indications that he's retiring. Now, if he wins and goes to the national championship, I bet he's good for another season.
No, I think just the opposite. I think he rolls all the way through this, wins a national championship. This is probably his best coaching job that he's done, and taking a team from 0 to 100. I don't think he has it in him to do that again.
And that's
so to me, you
very
ride out
plausible.
the sunset, you win it all, and you go out. I think if he loses, he comes back. That's my aspect on that.
I agree with you, 100%. I agree with you.
So you think that we might be seeing Saban's last, or a couple seasons from his last season, because he wants to go out on top?
No, yeah, I think if he wins a national championship this year, he retires this year.
He's what, 75?
72.
72.
He retires this year.
He just bought a big mansion on the coast of Florida. I just think he's getting ready to make that move.
Yeah.
So, wow, that is really a ballsy statement that you just said, man. Because I thought that he was 3 years out, maybe. But if he's not 75, he's 72.
72, yeah. But still, 72 and...
Yeah, but coaches do that, man. They're like politicians, right? Politicians go until they die. A lot of coaches go until they die as well, unless they get fired, And
well, I think Saban's determining factor. Again, I think if he wins it, he may walk. You see, he is Krzyzewski. He is Roy Williams. He's some of these other old heads that don't like where the game is. It's not about his ability to coach, his ability to recruit. It's currently about who's going to pay me more, and that's not the world that he's comfortable in. That's not what he has fun doing.
Especially a 17-year-old in high school still, and you're trying to recruit him with NIL money, and they have this big head of thinking that they're going to get so much.
It's worse than that. I had conversations this past weekend that the rumor has that no one has necessarily confirmed it, that many of these recruits, top recruits, are now telling schools that want to recruit them, you have to pay me $5,000 to show up on campus for a recruiting visit.
Nice.
That's where the world we're in right now. Okay, and until all the coaches and schools go, screw you, we're not going to do it.
Right.
They're going to sit there and start making. Look, a 16-year-old kid, when you're talking all this money, 17, 18-year-old kid, are going to keep pushing the envelope until somebody says enough's enough.
That's right. If they're coming to your school for $5,000, and I want them to come to my school that weekend,
you better give me 10. They're going to walk into
Yeah.
$100,000 just to get them on campus. I mean, that's where this crap's headed if they don't fix it. And I just don't think that's the coaching environment that Nick Saban is comfortable in. Because again, he's not coaching at that point. He's bribing, and good coaches don't have to do that. They want to come there because of the success you're going to have on the field.
I mean, it would just drive me crazy if I was a coach and I had that situation going on. Plus, every time I don't play someone for one game, they threaten to hit the portal at the end of the season and all that crap. First thing I would say is, all right, then you're not playing the rest of the season then.
Right. They shouldn't have the upper hand. The players should not dictate how the game is played.
Now, they should have some sort of power, because I agree with the fact that they're, I mean, for 100 years, you won't say it's exploiting players, but they're making a ton of money off these guys.
Yeah.
People are making a ton of money off these guys who are getting paid nothing. There should be something in it for them, in my opinion, besides just a $40,000
No, there should be no damn money in it.
No.
There should be no money in it. There should be none. It's amateur sports. It's about an education.
It went for decades without it.
They created this.
Yeah.
They created, and don't give me this shit about the schools making all this money, blah, blah, blah. You know what? If what your intentions are to make money playing a sport, create a minor football league and then let them go. And the kids that come to school because, hey, I need to get a means by which to pay for an education, and so I have a life on the other side of this game. That is I cannot stand that freaking argument. It pisses me off, because to your point, it worked just fine. It worked just fine until Ed O'Bannon got put on the front of a video game, and because he had no life after basketball, he decided, I'm going to try to get paid and take this all the way to the Supreme Court. Well, congratulations, jackass, you won. And now we're living in the world we're living in. Sorry, I'm a little passionate about it.
Well, it's good to be passionate about it.
I get really angry at the NCAA because when we have student athletes who are doing their job as a student and doing their job as a student athlete, and they can't afford to order a pizza because the rules are so strict. Like, they should have, They should have been given a chance to have a little bit of a stipend, a cash stipend. Here's $500 a month, so you have a little pocket money.
No, because if you're on full scholarship, everything you need is at your discretion.
Exactly.
Every meal, you look. They've got what do you call them? Lounges throughout campus. You're hungry, go over there. There's a dietitian sitting there. What do you need, son? I'll make it for you.
Yep.
Everything they want is right there at their
Otherwise, they're
discretion.
at halftime trying to sell their merchandise.
Correct. I mean, again, the problem is the student athlete is dead. It's not amateur sports anymore.
Right.
But college athletics was never intended to be the minor league. And there's people that argue against me until they're blue in the face on that.
No,
Get it out of college. Give them a minor league to go to. Football's the only major sport that doesn't have a minor league. Create it, let them go, and if that's what you want is to get paid because you're that good, then go get it. Bye.
So let's talk about that. XFL and AEFL or whatever merged this year. Has that become a big enough sport, a big enough league in order to make that a minor league?
There's people out there before COVID went and wrecked everything for a few years, said that was the intent The Rock did when he bought the XFL, that he was going to approach the NFL as to be the minor league and let them start getting cuts off of this.
They have gotten a couple players off of some of the leagues. It isn't the quantity it should be, but there has been some that have transitioned.
It's all about having fans, guys. The fans bring the money, right?
Yeah.
So how do you create that base of fans, right? So schools create that naturally.
They do.
And bring the money in naturally.
Yeah.
Now, who wants to go? If we, the Montgomery Warriors. Are you excited about that?
No. Have you ever been to a minor league baseball game? Have you ever been to a Fireflies game?
Many times.
They might have 100 people there, and that system has worked for years.
It works.
No, and those games
It
are
works,
fun.
but it also doesn't compete. Like, it's in the summertime, and you don't have minor league teams where you have major league teams.
That's right.
Yeah.
But it's also a great place to rehab people too. Think about like the 66ers over in California. The doctors send people over there and they get rehab there. It's a great way for us to not only find people, but to rehab guys that, like Lane Johnson when he was trying to come back to the Eagles. What a great idea.
So the XFL becomes a minor league-ish type thing for the NFL. I honestly have never watched one of the XFL games.
They're fun. They're fun. I've watched them. I've watched them here.
I guess I would go to one, but there's no loyalty. Like, there's no fan passion that I have to watch it. So I watched maybe a half of the game or a quarter of a game just to see, and it wasn't exciting to me.
But the problem is this, though. That doesn't matter. What I'm trying to say, if you set up the minor leagues the way you could, it doesn't matter because you would have you're a farm team for an NFL team that all the money need to run it, all the money to pay people is funneling down from that major league baseball team down to the minors. And so at that point then you develop them. I mean, unless you're AAA, unless you're living in Pawtucket, nobody goes to these minor league baseball games as a habit.
Well, there are some places, like in Kentucky, where they get a ton of people that go to the
you go to Florence, there's nothing else in that little town.
Right, exactly.
So, but again, it's my opinion. There's people, Chris would argue all day long, or Chopper would argue all day long against it. I get that. And you could argue either side of it. It's just, I'm a purist. I'm a Nick Saban guy. This is not what college athletics were established for.
And that closes up the Nick Saban conversation. Like that, he may not want to deal with this newness in college football, whereas someone like Lane Kiffin will, right? Someone like these younger coaches are okay with it. Like when I listen to the Florida Gators press conferences, like Billy Napier talks about with excitement about the NIL and excitement about the recruiting side of it.
That's because he's out of school with deep pockets. Go to a school that don't have any pockets.
No, I know, but these younger coaches look at it differently than these older coaches do, is what I'm saying. And
I think that
might
proves
be
your point.
It does, but this is a whole other conversation for another day about the discrepancies you put between these schools now. I mean, because of NIL. You got Florida, Texas, Alabama, Notre Dame, and then you got Louisiana, Central Florida. I mean, you're never going to compete because of the dollar differences.
I mean, essentially, the smaller, like your school out there up in Boone, right? App State, Carolina, like the one over there in in Conway.
Oh, Coastal
Carolina. Like these smaller schools like that, those are going to be basically a farm team for frickin' the Division I teams.
They will.
No,
they're for the Power 5.
Power 5, yeah.
So what they're going to do, you're 100%. And I mean, it's absolute trash.
It's just been that way for a while, but now it's becoming
but it wasn't that way because you got penalized if you moved up. You had to sit out a year. But the rules right now, you can come and go as you freely want to.
You get one transfer without sitting out.
Well,
but even then, there's so many exceptions that kids are falling into. I mean, DJ Alphabet. All right, he's going to pop out again. I mean, he may transfer again. He's going to go, where am I going?
What if he comes to Carolina?
Then come to Carolina and toss the ball around.
We won't complain anymore.
The thing is this. What is he doing? Everyone's like, so what's Caleb Williams doing? He's going to sit there and look, and he's going to go, where am I going to get drafted? What NIL deal do I have on the table? And they're going to pick which one's going to pay him more.
Yeah.
Again, that's just bastardized the whole process.
Yeah, it does.
But now that we're getting back to 4 years of eligibility post-COVID, I actually think that the NFL is who benefits from all of this.
Well, of course, they all do.
Well, the NFL now, instead of having a bunch of 20-year-olds coming in or 21-year-olds, they're getting 22 and 23-year-olds coming in who are like, what you see is what you get, as opposed to we have to still do a lot of development.
I think before this comes over with, look, let's think about it like this. It's NIL and this transfer portal stuff went off the rails about the same time. They almost went very much hand in hand. Within the next 1 to 3 years, I hope in the 1 year period, you're going to start to see this get reined in. There's going to be limitation. I think, again, it's going to be if you transfer for anything other than 1 or 2 reasons, you have to sit out a year. And that's what they're going to make them have to do to keep these kids from playing a year and hopping. And then NIL, again, keep in mind, what does NIL stand for? Name, image, likeness. They're supposed to be earning this money. These collectives at these schools, that's just pay to play. And that is not within the constructs of NIL. Just the NCAA just don't have the chops to go in and rule this stuff right now because it's a Wild West. They're going to rein that in as well. These collectives are going to end up going away because, again, that's pay to play. Because then your best players are just going to go to school for the highest bidders. It's going to be Texas, it'll be Oregon, it'll be North Carolina because Michael Jordan's going to throw so much money down into there, and Notre Dame, schools like that. And that's you want to talk about you want parity. You want parity. You just created the worst discrepancies you ever could when you go to pay to play.
Well, what about places like Ohio State, who's losing their quarterback, their starting quarterback? And
I think that dynamic up there is a little more than money, though.
Well, but who's going with them? Who's going with them?
No, I think they
11 other players.
The Heisman Trophy candidate is most likely going with him.
Yeah, I think all Will Rogers from Mississippi State is going to be getting a paycheck from Oregon. Probably.
Yeah, I feel like Ohio forced. I think they were looking for a new quarterback, and they just said, "Hey, here's the door." And honestly, but let's move down the list, okay, to the most controversial thing of the week. Obviously, FSU beats Louisville in the biggest snooze fest I've ever seen. It was 16-6, 3-0 at half, and this team could not move the ball. The only thing that helped them is the fact that Louisville could not move the ball either, and the FSU loses. So let's talk about the controversy and not about the game, okay? Which
FSU won the game.
Did I? Oh, sorry. I misspoke. FSU wins.
Nobody knew unless you're an FSU fan.
Yeah, and
there's some passionate ones out there. Look at our Facebook group. My goodness.
Yeah.
And evidently every
Love you,
politician in Florida.
So I watched the whole game. I did not fall asleep during the first half. But
wasn't it their AD who voted against going to the 12-team playoff?
I think they did. So
Florida State's AD.
So big controversy is they're undefeated and they should be in. I mean, I was 100% sure that I was arguing with people on our Facebook group big time that FSU is in, Michigan's in, Washington's in. The only place that there's a controversy is who's going to be number 4. That was my thought because they had never done this before. TCU even got in after losing the Big 12 championship last year because of their schedule. So
every year is different.
Every year's different. Okay.
It was different. And what did we learn from TCU getting in last year?
Yeah. Well, they
It was
beat
a bad
they beat Michigan in the round 1. So legitimately, they played a good game in that game. I think they
Still, you got to
defensively they had a great game.
We're not putting a team in the top 4 so they can make it out of round 1.
They made it out of round 1. That's good enough. Now, Cincinnati the year before is a different story.
Yeah.
They just got blown out right off the bat. So to me, that's a
3 things drove this decision. I'm convinced of it. 3 things.
Okay.
3 primary
and
things.
I know you've had this bottled up for like 3 days.
No, again, because I could argue for them, I could argue against them. Number 1, TCU. Okay, they don't want to see 65, 66, or 7 again. And look,
We
Florida
don't want to see
State,
it either.
Florida State can compete it with anybody. They're a depleted team right now. You can't take away from what they did, but they are a depleted team. Number
Get some
2
depth.
is the ACC championship game. The second lowest Power 5 seat average seat to sell. They didn't travel to Charlotte. They're not. People are like, so who am I going to put in? When you looked at, I put that stat up. The same seat in the section in Charlotte was going for $57 for Louisville, Florida State. Alabama and Georgia, it was $5,000. Okay, money's going to drive it. Number 3, the conspiracy theory.
The conspiracy theory.
The SEC just signed a contract with who is it that carries the national championship games? Is it CBS, or they just signed a long-term deal with them for next year? Whoever's carrying that national championship game, the SEC just signed a contract with them. And so I'm like,
Is it Fox?
I don't remember right offhand, but it makes you go, I think it is. I think it's a Disney derivative. So therefore, it makes you go, okay. Now you're starting to see the picture painted here as to what happened. Here's the thing: is you play in a Power 5, you won every game. What more can you do? You legitimately cannot do any more than you did. Should they be in? Yes, but if you read the wording of the Final 4, it says we're going to put the best 4 teams into the Final 4, and that's what they felt like they did.
They still did not do that?
That did not, yeah. Texas shouldn't be in there either.
I agree.
Ohio State should have been over Texas. Yes, they won the Big 12. Ohio State, the only game they lost was a tough matchup against the number 1 ranked team in the
Yeah,
country.
they lost by 3.
That's what I'm saying. So
Right.
to me, you Florida State should have been in. Texas should have been in.
Right.
Your Final 4 should have been Georgia, Alabama, Washington, which I don't think they're one of the best 4, but what it is,
Michigan.
and Michigan. You can argue Washington a little bit easier because they beat some pretty good teams.
And
Yeah.
they beat Oregon twice.
But I mean, that's. I mean, honestly, if the NCAA wanted to have some fun with this ad lib and let Florida State and Alabama have a playing game, say, we're going to create a game, put you in. That's going to be your first bowl game. Get in.
It would be fun to do it on like the 17th or something. Just throw together a game.
They should come out and say, we screwed up. We can't figure this out. This is our solution. The schools have agreed to it. We're going to play the game.
FSU, Alabama on the 22nd or 21st or something.
Look, it's bad enough when, again, should they be in the Final 4 based on their body of work? Yes. Based on where they are right now, no. If you look, they end up getting paired up against Georgia in their bowl game, and they're over a 2-point touchdown dog right now. That should tell you. That's the TCU effect. They don't want to see that.
Okay, so that was a question I had about the playoff, right? Or not the playoff, but this whole controversy. Georgia playing FSU. FSU is going to go in there, balls to the wall, work their butt off. And every player is going to go in there and play their heart out, right? Whereas Georgia is going to go in there, and there's going to be 17 guys sitting out. You know, we're not going to play because we're not going to get hurt because we're going to be applying for the draft and all that stuff. And then Florida State ends up winning, and then they declare a UCF.
Not with a 13 quarterback. Not with a 13 quarterback.
No, but they're going to have a second string quarterback.
He's still not.
He had concussion protocol.
I get it. What I'm saying though, look. You got some teams that the first team, the second team, there's not huge drop-offs. For Florida State, that kid was a Heisman candidate. You go to the second team guy, there's a huge drop-off. The only way Florida State wins that game is if they can just not allow Georgia to score 7-10 points. Their defense, and they squeak out somehow a touchdown and win 7-3. That's the only way they win that ball game.
Yeah, Georgia rolls them. I mean, no
matter what. So
no questions about it.
Even if they have 10 starters that decide to sit out.
Yeah, so if it was not FSU Georgia, yeah, I can see that maybe against Georgia. Maybe if it was Georgia,
Oregon
or something, maybe they slip up there. But not Georgia FSU. Not with all the.
No, they're going to want to save face.
Yeah, both of those teams are going out to make a statement. However, The difference is Georgia will be able to do that, and FSU will not be able to do
Look,
that.
FSU win-wise undefeated, but when you look at the quality of the wins, there are a lot of close calls against a lot of weak teams.
Oh, yeah,
But,
absolutely.
but to that
Absolutely.
argument, though, to that argument, and you are 100% correct.
There was a close call against a weak team for Alabama against Auburn.
Hey,
Yeah.
you're 100% correct with the Florida State. Have you watched Texas all year? There's about 3 games they could have, should have lost to really garbage teams.
Quinn Ewers was out for 3 games.
They don't. Florida State's quarterback's out now, and Quinn
Hey,
Ewers just got in.
Get some depth.
That's what I'm saying.
Get some depth. Is it about playing in the right conference, or is that about having depth?
This is about Texas
Right?
money.
I mean,
It's about Texas money.
Well, throw another guy in there and go.
So, and Texas is coming to the SEC
Gotta be ready
next
for
year.
that.
So you have 2 SEC teams, essentially.
I think that
in
played in the
playoffs.
other reason. Technically, if you wanted to argue it, they put Georgia in, you had 3 SEC schools. I think that was the other.
Well, even Deion Sanders was interviewed on Good Morning America yesterday, and he said, "Are you kidding? You can't be in finals without a Georgia team." He came right out and said it. He goes,
Really?
"Oh yeah." He really badmouthed the CFP. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think next year we're going to have something better.
Well, I've said that all along. To argue number 3, 4, 5, 6 is way harder than it's going to be to argue 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Those conversations, those teams are going to be real passionate about it, but nobody's going to care because you're going to be arguing over does Penn State or Liberty get in?
It's all about your matchup at that point.
Yeah, I mean,
And
they're not going to care.
But also,
Yeah.
the 5 Power 5 conference.
Now, it's not 5 anymore.
Or 4 Power.
They get an automatic bye. The winner gets an automatic bye.
Yeah, the top
Big
4.
Two?
I think the conference champions all get a first round bye.
First round bye, yeah. And then the
Is
other.
it the conference champions or the top 4 schools?
No, the top 4 the conference champions. So if Texas can be 9-3, but if they're the conference champion, they get an automatic bye, no matter what.
Yeah. So if you take the Pac-12 out of this year, Alabama, Florida State, Michigan, and Texas would have gotten a first round bye.
Yeah. And then you would have, and then everybody else, they figure out the next, what is that, 8 after that.
The only thing I haven't seen yet, though, and I'm sure they've addressed it, is are they going to reseed after that first round game?
Oh, that would be interesting.
Are they going to reseed it to make sure that, now we got 8 teams to reseed them 1 through 8 to figure out who plays who, or is it going to be like NCAA bracket? You bracket it out, and the chips fall how the chips fall.
I mean, people have made them up already, and I've seen it just as a bracket with the.
Very well could be.
where you
Again,
fall
those are
into
questions
it.
I don't know the answer
But I don't know if those are official or not. I mean, who knows? I mean, but we can have our guys in the back research this stuff, and maybe next week we can figure all that stuff out, right? So let's go ahead and move on to a different conversation. That's your Heisman finalists. Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. What's your initial thought on those 4, and who do you think is going to be the person that stands up there and gives a speech at the end of the night?
In my mind, it's either Jaden Daniels or Bo Nix. It's tight.
Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix. Now, you don't think just because Michael Penix Jr. is of those the only one that's going to be that's in the playoffs, you don't think that counts for something?
No, it's going to count for the fact that he beat Bo Nix twice. If Bo Nix wins that game, he wins the Heisman. His team, again, he ain't the only one. His team won. So this guy lost to that guy twice. He gets a pretty say, I stood on the stage as a Heisman finalist at this point. Yeah. So now you're the Daniels and you're the Penix Jr. If there ever was a year this year that a non-quarterback wins it, this year ought to be the one because Harrison Jr. is the best freak athlete in all college football.
But he has 1,211 yards. That's it, 14 touchdowns. There's been 2 Heisman finalists in the last 40 years, right? Or Heisman winners in the last 40 years. It's
Heisman winner every year.
That were wide receivers, and that is going to be Devonta Smith, 1,800 yards that year, so 600 more yards, and Desmond Howard, who had 2,077 yards.
You just don't think the stats are good enough.
1,200 yards does not win a Heisman, in my opinion. an impact player, that's not the best player.
And those are balanced stats.
Yeah.
So I think if you go to there, it goes to Penix Jr. just because it's a feel-good story already, and he gets to split the cherry on top and take home the trophy.
The best quarterback's Jordan Daniels, hands down.
Jaden Daniels?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I said.
But as we have said, in
He's
recent
the best quarterback.
history, 100%. In recent history, though, it's a dog and pony show. The best player doesn't always win the Heisman.
You're right.
And the fact that they've lost a couple games, even though.
But Louisville, 4 years ago, quarterback for the Ravens now.
Oh, Lamar Jackson?
Lamar Jackson, yeah. He won the Heisman from Louisville.
Yep.
And I think it wasn't 4 years ago. It was like 6 or 7 years ago, right?
Now, who is LSU playing?
The Heisman Trophy's already, the voting's already in before the bowl game.
They were a 3-loss team as well, similar stats.
Yeah, but his stats are freakish that year.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Not 5,000 yards?
Yeah, no, his stats were,
over?
and he had all the rushing yards to go with it.
Yeah.
I mean, he was Cam Newton in a much smaller body.
Jaden Daniels a top 50
And
rusher.
not dressed as funny.
Yeah.
Jaden Daniels has 10 rushing touchdowns, so I think he wins it, even though he's not where.
Listen, I'm a huge Bo Nix homer. You guys all know I've been saying that all year, and I still think he may win it. But you know, Daniels is the best quarterback.
Well, I'm jumping on your bandwagon. I'm going with Bo Nix.
Nice.
You're sticking
Bo Nix.
You're sticking with Nix, huh?
Bo Nix.
Sticks with Nix.
I'm going to go with Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
What about Carson Beck? Why didn't he make it?
I don't know. So
I looked at his statistics, and they're better than everybody else's.
Who did he play for?
Georgia?
yes, so he's
Correct. And who did he follow?
Oh, well, yeah.
Stetson Bennett.
Right.
He did not get near
That's
the
a-
fanfare that stands. Again, the Heisman Trophy isn't about the best player in football anymore. It's about
look at his yardage.
marketing. It's about who. Look, schools are taking out full-page ads to try to get their guy votes for Heisman
But
Trophy
if
stuff.
Jaden Daniels wins it, then it kind of played out. You don't have the best team. You don't have a team in the spotlight.
Oh, yeah, no,
You're
there would be a
just
little
taking
bit. If he wins it, there would be a little bit of faith renewed.
You're right.
I mean, it's like last year. Your boy out UFC. I don't think he should have won it last year, but the media propped him up and put him on such a pedestal that everybody knew his name, right? He was Cheers. Everybody knows his name.
I picked him from day one, and I'm happy he stayed with it the whole time. But you're
He
right.
ended up
he
being
did.
a punk.
I know. I'm watching everything on our Facebook page, and I think he is the most hated player in all of college football.
College football, yes.
It's possible. So
He's right there with LeBron.
on both, on Bo Nix, his completion percentage was the highest in the country this year, 77.2. But it was not the highest ever. The highest ever is Mac Jones at 77.4. Mac Jones did not win the Heisman. His wide receiver won the Heisman that year.
Wow.
So, that being said, I thought that having a really high completion percentage might get you into the Heisman, because it blew everyone else away by like 1 or 2%. But that's not the case, because Mac Jones was not the Heisman winner that year. So he wasn't on the stage that year, I don't think. But then again, he might not have that many yards. I didn't look that up. But anyway, that being said, I think that we all agree that Jaden Daniels is the guy.
No. Bo Nix.
Okay, I'm kidding. So
we're a little divided, but that's okay. Give us something to talk about next week.
Right.
We're allowed to be divided, right?
Always.
I think if you go by the fact that the momentum is on his side right now, Michael Penix Jr. gets it, because he is going to be playing in the playoffs. He might play in the final, the championship. Who knows? If by some miracle they beat Texas, which that's the most likely. That's the one that's the toss-up in this championship, right? I'm pretty sure that Michigan is going to destroy Alabama.
You're in.
Are you
Oh my God.
I just said last week's game was your national championship game.
Now, I'm pretty sure Michigan's going to destroy Alabama.
That's
That's pretty much written in the books, right? But
Yeah,
Texas, Washington is going to be the one.
Have you ever watched Michigan in the playoffs? I'm sorry, Michigan fans, but I mean, really.
I will say though, Michigan has a better shot this year than they have in years past. They're a more complete team. They're playing well at the right time.
So is Alabama.
No, I'm not disagreeing with you. I think
Alabama's been
if
improving
Michigan beats Alabama, it's going to come down to quarterback play. As you've had a quarterback who has been on the big stage, who's been there, done that, and a kid that is still trying to feel his oats and is coming into his own. Are the lights going to be too bright? That's going to be the decision maker in this game.
I don't think the lights are too bright on the Alabama side for sure. But I do think that Michigan does have the team that is well-rounded on defense. I mean, it's hard to score against Michigan as it is. Even Ohio State had a hard time scoring against Michigan, and that's a pretty dynamic defense or offense, right? Why are you making that face?
I think the winner of the Michigan-Alabama game is our national championship.
Well, whoever wins that game wins it all.
That's what I'm saying. The seeding is
barring injuries.
So am I the only one at this table that thinks that Michigan takes it all?
No. I said whoever Michigan-Alabama game wins it all.
Oh, okay, I got it.
Whoever wins it all, but I think Alabama wins it all.
Okay.
I picked them too. Go all the way.
Or Alabama or Michigan?
Michigan.
Now we have followed my show notes absolutely zero tonight.
It's been a hell of a show, hasn't it?
Which is fine. I actually like this ad-libbing stuff. I've been following a little bit of it, but we've gone off on some good tangents, which is great. But we do need to talk about the game of the week. It's the only game of this week. It's America's game, by the way. All eyes are on that game.
Hoo-ah!
Fly, fight, and win, baby.
Yeah, the problem is both teams are 5 and 6.
Yep.
So it's going to be a lackluster performance as it is, in my opinion. Air Force.
It's going to be one. Air Force is pulling for Navy.
Air Force struggled against Army. They were undefeated, and Army ended up beating them, right? And Army shut down Air Force's running offense, which was really good. They were 8-0 at one point in this season, and then Army takes them down. So I think Army might have a decent defense, as well as the fact that they were the team. They beat Coastal Carolina, which is a pretty good offense. But the thing is they lost to UMass. Do I need to say any more when Army loses to UMass?
UMass played Auburn close too the year before last.
Was that early in the season or late?
No, that was like middle of the season.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm still, as an Air Force guy, I'm pulling for Navy to make up for the Army loss.
Okay, so let's see
You
what
know the Air Force used to be part of the Army, right?
Used to be.
And
in 1947 we got smart.
Yeah.
But the guys
kicked you out.
The guys in the desert picked Army by 61%.
Yeah, and Navy has no good wins on their resume at all.
Right.
The 5
The
wins
spread
they
is
have,
Army minus 2.5.
yeah, I mean it's a rivalry game.
I think this is
It's a rivalry.
Navy's pulled out a win the last few years, probably when they shouldn't have. Isn't that right?
No, Army
won the last couple. That's what it was.
Navy still leads the series.
You know what? I'm gonna sit back,
62,
enjoy
54.
what it stands for, enjoy all the pageantry of it. Hopefully that. Never mind. We'll say the bumbling idiot from DC knows where he is when he comes to the game.
Where's the game being played?
Foxborough in
Foxborough.
Massachusetts.
Because it used to be Philadelphia, right?
Yeah, but the shipyard is not what the shipyard was.
They're having a lot of problems
And there's
finding
no
places
JFK.
for people to stay up there.
Yeah.
You know, there's no JFK Stadium. After Live Aid, they destroyed it.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
the fanfare is going to be real this weekend. It's always fun to watch all the pageantry that goes on with it.
But why a cold stadium? Neither one of those guys are going to like that.
Yeah, that's not very fun.
No.
They should just send them all down to like Tampa or
Tradition.
something.
I
Man.
mean,
Tradition.
this one's Army all the way.
It's Army.
I think it's Army
all
too.
the way.
I'm
No.
rooting for Navy, but I think it's Army.
Army always beats Navy in every situation.
The winner of this game's America. That's who wins this game.
All right.
America.
That's 'cause
Speaking-
no kid ever played Navy.
Speaking of Foxborough, what the hell is going on with Mac Jones and New England Patriots?
Him and Caleb Williams can sit around a campfire and roast marshmallows.
Oh, good God. I always find a way to bring it back to Caleb Williams.
You think he's going to the Patriots?
No, they sit there and sob, and was it Mac Jones that was blowing snot in the presser like 3 weeks ago? I'm like, come on, man. I had a Aaron Rodgers moment. Like, come on,
He's not going to be crying in public anymore.
Now, what's going on? Like, he got injured last year and he just came back and he hasn't been able to play.
Yeah, he was playing great until he jacked his ankle up, and he has not been the same quarterback. Is it because of the ankle? I don't know.
John?
Is he playing scared? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think at this point, get out of Foxborough, try to rekindle it somewhere else.
You think so?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, dude, they're starting Bailey Zappi from Western Kentucky. He's not a terrible quarterback. When you do that, Mac Jones go, hey man, it's been real. Let me go somewhere else and try this thing again. That's what I would do. If I were him, I would want to have a New England this.
And I hope he does well. I mean, I like the guy. I'm a Patriots fan. He did well last season generally. You know, he hasn't brought Patriots back to the 2000s and 2010s by any means. But
no.
When's Belichick retiring?
He's done this year. They're talking about trading him for picks.
Has Joe Burrow lost his mojo?
Yes.
Has he lost his mojo?
Well, he's injured.
He's hurt.
Yeah, I know, but before that, he wasn't doing that well.
Because he was hurt.
Yeah.
I mean, look, he had a
mojo.
torn Achilles in the preseason. As he starts to get better, he jacks up his
lost
wrist. Now,
his
is
right
he
arm.
fragile?
Yeah.
He remains to be seen. But mojo, no.
Fragile.
No, but he might be a little fragile.
All right.
I hope
Yes.
not. I so hope not.
Which team was the first one to lock up their playoff berth?
It's not the Eagles.
You know, in the NFL?
Yeah. Locked in.
I think it's going to be the 49ers.
I do too.
Niners.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think their schedule sets up for it. They've got on the back end of their meat of theirs.
Our schedule gets tougher, yeah. So we've got the Cowboys next week against the Eagles. We're going down to Dallas, which is bad. So I will be hiding underneath my blanket on Sunday.
Why don't you go to the game?
I'm going down to Dallas wearing green.
Shit, yeah, I would.
Oh, no. No.
They don't have snowballs or batteries down there. You're good.
Oh, dear God.
It's not like going to Los Angeles wearing Giants uniform.
Oh, well, yeah. You get killed for that. At least it don't kill you in Philly.
What the fuck, y'all? Does anyone have a good what the fuck?
I do.
All right, give me a what the fuck.
You might have heard of this guy. His name's Big Dom.
Big Dom.
Big Dom.
Tell
He's
me more.
The head of security for the Eagles was on the sidelines on Sunday, and a gentleman by the name of Dre Greenlaw came over. He took down Smith and threw him to the ground excessively out of bounds, and then Smith was trying to get up. One of the coaches was helping him up, and they started jawing at each other. So Big Dom put his arms out to stop him from going after Smith and stop the fight. And I'm sitting here with a Cowboys fan. The Cowboys fan was on my side, on the Eagles side, and we all agreed, while Candy, the best bartender in the world, was watching it with us. And he got ejected along with Dre Greenlaw. Dre Greenlaw smacked him in the face across the nose and the cheek. Get that. Not real sure about why Big Dom got ejected, but that was a big what the for me.
Yeah. Since Cheeks took up all the what the fuck time, I'll let one more person go.
I got mine is more of a admiration of what the fuck against my boys. App State Troy. Great game, and then the wheels came off for my Mountaineers. Kimani Vidal, the running back, Sunbelt Player of the Year for Troy, ends this game with 26 carries, 233 yards, and 5 touchdowns.
Nice.
He himself had 26 carries?
Yes.
And where's he
5
transferring
touchdowns.
to?
That's insane.
No, I think he's a senior. I think all of a sudden his draft stock just went through.
Yeah.
He's a Maurice Jones-Drew kind of guy. He's not that big, powerful legs, small, squirts through holes. It's one of those things. A friend of mine actually graduated from there, and I texted him. I said, "Dude, he's kicking the crap out of my team, but man, this is impressive to watch." And I can appreciate it.
Since Cheeks and the Rebel took up all of the what the fuck time, let's move on to last call, shall we?
Okay.
And this is a surprise, so if you can't think of one right off the bat, that's fine. I do give you an out in this question, though, so let's go. Let's think about college basketball for a second, okay?
I love it.
Love it.
Is there a team standing out this season yet? A standout team?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Or is December too early to tell?
No.
The Arizona
Arizona,
Wildcats
yeah.
have just decided, hey, we're going to, with a former Tar Heel at the point, they went into Cameron and won that game, and they have not looked back, and hands down, top to bottom, they have looked as dominant of a college basketball team as there has been in recent history.
What do they have? They have some big guys underneath the net?
They are just top to bottom good. Their starting five could play anywhere. They score, they rebound, they play good defense. They do everything you're supposed to. They're doing everything everybody thought Duke was going to do. And that's what could be another what the fuck Blue Devils, and it makes me feel warm and giddy on the inside.
I like
So
that.
I'm gonna spend some time this week looking at them, and I'll probably watch a couple of their games just to see.
What about App State?
App State beat
Big
Auburn.
win over
Up
Auburn.
in Boone.
All right. Carolina Gamecocks.
And I brought somebody from App State tonight.
Oh, God, every week.
Every week I wasn't going to go there. You did, so I'll say something.
As of the last time I looked, the Carolina Gamecocks are 8-0.
Yep.
Yep.
So-
There's that's getting
Men's basketball.
Clemson's
Yeah.
undefeated, Carolina's undefeated, and they're getting ready to collide.
Yeah. So
Not to take you off of basketball, but isn't there an I told you so about SEC being in the playoffs?
Oh, I think there's some beers to be drank and poured.
I don't know that I.
He said he never, with the SEC school, was not going to make the Final Four.
I did say that. I did say that.
Oh, you owe us all a round of beer.
I don't know about that.
All of us.
Trying to.
Even our listeners.
Remember you told
All 17
Remember
of
you
them.
told me you'd buy me a beer if I wore a black shirt today, and I did. You don't remember that?
I got a surprise for y'all last call.
All right.
I don't even know what that means.
I mean, we're all off the rails tonight. Let's go for it.
Why do people like pickleball? Tell me
I was playing last
I am
night.
treating a patient right now that is sponsored. Like
Sponsored
they give
in
her-
pickleball?
They provide her paddles and balls. I
Really?
mean, this stuff is called fireman. I'm training her to go back to play pickleball. She had a lumbar fusion. That's what I'm doing right
So
now.
I was playing pickleball last night at this
Okay.
time.
Tell me
Believe it
more.
or not, it's a great game.
In
It's
the
a game
dark?
where you can get out on the court, and you can't really size up the opponent by looking at them. Trust me.
So
you
I might
look
look
over
really
and you
bad.
look over and you think this guy might be good or this guy might be bad. No.
Is it 1v1?
You can get done with a pickleball game and walk off the court, and that guy that just wore you out in pickleball can't even walk to his car. For real.
Because you don't have to move?
You do have to move, but very little.
Oh, that's why.
Very little.
Are these all people that want
Very
to play
little.
tennis but can't?
No, this is a completely different sport.
Yeah,
Look,
but
look, my
old
patient,
tennis
shout out to
player.
Delphine. She's a beast at this game.
Does she
man.
listen to our show?
I'm about to send her a message. Say you should, because she gets a shout out tonight for free. She started going into this with me about
It's a
how
lot of fun, it is.
She goes, man, this ain't no joke, and I'm like, hey, I'm intrigued by
She's
it, man.
sponsored.
She's
I
sponsored.
want her on this show. Tell her she's coming next Tuesday.
All right, Delphine, the pickleball queen. You're coming. You're coming.
Delphine, the pickleball queen.
You're coming on guys at the bar talking sports.
Oh man,
Sweet.
Dude, we're becoming a pickleball show. That's going to be last call every week. What happened in pickleball this week?
I'm sure people
Yeah.
will tune in just for that.
They will, yeah. We're going to find our niche. I bet there is a niche in podcasting for pickleball.
Hey, pickleball is growing immensely throughout the United States.
All right, I'm going to put that in our.
They're going to convert. You saying they're going to convert Wimbledon to a pickleball court?
Not yet. Not yet.
In
but
London,
Not
he
yet.
said the United States.
That will be my biggest told you so in about 10 years.
All right.
Oh my God.
So let's steer this train back onto the rails for a second, okay? And let's go ahead and say to our fans and our listeners and everyone else, thank you all for listening to the show and keep on coming back for more Guys in the Bar Talking.
Fire!